These are the planets of our solar system. Except that one. And, up until recently, this was the only planet that seemed to have present tectonic activity. But what if it isn't? What if there is a way to give the benefits and illusion of tectonic activity, but without having to keep a molten core? That's where this comes in. Some people call it a mineral, some people call it the bane of their winter commute, but most people call it ice. And ice is pretty cool. In fact, it has a few properties that could open the door to some big possibilities on other planets. You see, ice is ductile. Given enough time and a bit of guidance, ice will begin to flow using a process known as plastic deformation. The plastic deformation of ice already does some amazing things here on our home planet. So imagine what it could do here, on a planet with more water than all of our oceans combined. But this isn't a planet at all. This is one of Jupiter's moons, Europa. And it might not be that different from Earth, only, several hundred degrees colder all the time. One of the things that makes all of this ice on Europa so interesting is that it would act as a very good insulator, and, as a product of this, form a temperature gradient from the crust to the core, one that might include several very cold and brittle slabs on the planetoid's surface, which could creep atop a thick layer of slightly warmer ice, all coating the possibility of a liquid sea beneath the ice around some sort of core. Sound familiar? And for some reason, Europa doesn't look nearly as old as it should. There is a process called meteor impact aging that allows scientists to calculate the age of a celestial body by considering how many and how weathered the craters that litter its surface are. And by this metric would make Europa appear to only be 2% the age of its neighboring moons, which is highly unlikely, and begs the question, where did all the impacts go? This is exactly the answer that tectonic ice provides, because similar to how tectonic plates on Earth can recycle the crust and make everything new again, it would appear that Europa is doing the same thing with ice. We all know what a subduction zone is, a convergent boundary which facilitates the reincorporation of crust into the Earth. But ice isn't quite as finicky as the slabs of igneous rock that the Earth needs to deal with. On Europa, the hydrogen oxide slabs go through a process called subsumption, wherein they can simply dip beneath the outer shell and immediately begin being warmed and subsumed back into the larger mass of ductile ice. This process of subsumption is an extremely important step in understanding how Europa looks the way it does, because we've known for decades that ice has been added to the surface at a rate incredibly like that of seafloor spreading here on Earth. Images of the probes Pioneer 10 and 11 sort of gave us our first peeks at the moon, but it wasn't until both Voyager probes where we got our first real look at the cracked and barren surface. And with the Galileo space probe orbiting Jupiter for 8 years, from 95 to 02, the best images of this phenomena have been seen with both rifts in the ice and the remnants of moving plates being captured. Along with that, in November and December of 2012, the Hubble Space Telescope captured evidence of geysers and plumes of ice being shot into the sky in what might be some of the first examples of cryovolcanoes, likely due to the incredible tidal forces of Jupiter. Plausible enough that NASA has begun to entertain the idea of sending a quote-unquote hydrobot probe to the moon to capture some of the vapor without having to land on the surface. At the end of the day, it's chilling to know that tectonic activity might not be as scarce as we once thought, and could have cool consequences for other star systems in our universe, and perhaps even in the search for extraterrestrial life. Where there's a water, there's a waiter?